Hello and welcome to this life changing journey. This audiobook is based on the best selling motivational classic Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller, a book that has inspired millions to transform their lives by changing just one thing, their attitude. Jeff Keller, a lawyer turned into motivational speaker, believed that success begins in mind. In this book, he shows us how our thoughts, words, and action shape our reality and how anyone, no matter where they start, can create a life of purpose and success. The book is divided into three powerful parts: think, speak, act. Think. Your attitude is your window to the world. Learn how changing your thought can change your life. Speak. Words are powerful. Learn how to speak with positive and intentions to shape your destiny. Act. Take action on your dream, overcome fear, and move forward with courage. This audiobook is not just theory, it's filled with simple, practical tools you can apply right now to shift your mindset and unlock your full potential. So take a deep breath, let go of doubt, and get ready to experience the power of positive attitude, because attitude isn't just a part of success, it's everything. Let's begin. The night that changed my life. In 1980, I graduated from the law school and thought I had been a lawyer for the rest of my life. After all, that's what I wanted to do since my early teenage years. At first, everything went according to plan. After a lot of studying that summer, I passed the bar examination and was admitted to practice law in New York. My personal life was also on the upswing. In early 1981, I married Dolores, a law school classmate. I was on my way to much success and happiness, or so I thought. But after practicing law for a few years, I realized I wasn't happy at all. Sure, there was something I liked about being a lawyer. I enjoyed helping people resolve their dispute, especially when I could save them the agony of the lengthy court proceeding. Yet there were so many things about being an attorney that I disliked and just seemed to drain the life out of me. Mounds and mounds of tedious paperwork and motion to be filled, constant delays and postponement. It was not uncommon for a trial to be postponed 10 times. I dared going to work. I continued to grind out the work but grew more and more dissatisfied as an attorney. I was frustrated and very depressed. Put in bluntly, I didn't like my life and saw no way that things were going to improve. Have you ever had a job where you dreaded going to work most of the days? Where you felt the weight of the world on your shoulder each day? Well, that's how I felt. I was literally hunched over and in pain, both physically and emotionally. I looked much older than my years. I began to get headache all the time and my stomach was constantly churning. Fearing that I had some serious health problem, I saw some doctor and they ordered a battery of tests. Every test came back with the same result. They couldn't find anything physically wrong with me. One of the doctors suggested that I take Malox to calm my upset stomach. Spiritually, I was dead. Nothing in my life had much meaning. This day to day drudgery was also affecting my appearance. Although I was in my late 20s, I looked like I was 40. In the early part of 1985, shortly after I had turned 30-year-old, I was burned out. And one particular evening, while sitting alone in my den, I knew that something had to change. Not knowing what to do, I simply said out loud, "There's got to be more to my life than this. There's got to be more than this misery and unhappiness. Help come from an unlikely source." Later that night, I was watching TV in the den. It was around 1 a.m., and my wife, Dolores, had already gone to bed. But I was feeling so down I couldn't sleep. I channeled separate, looking for something to occupy my time. I turned into all of the things and information. Normally, I would have changed the channel in a fraction of a second, but for some reason I listened. The product being peddled was called the Mental Bank and was endorsed by actress Florence Henderson of Brandy Bunch fame. The Mental Bank was a home study course that explained how everything we achieve in life is based upon our subconscious belief. I I felt so desperate at that point that I decided to go for it. I pulled out my credit card and ordered the program. That night in my den was the turning point of my life. By the way, when I sheepishly told Dolores what I had done a day or two later, she was shocked. You did what? She asked in amazement. It's not that she objected to purchase, it was just out of character for me to buy something like that on impulse, and worse yet, from a TV information. Several days later, the Mental Bank program arrived at my doorstep, and I was fascinated and excited to begin learning how our thought determine the quality of our life. Prior to that time, I had never heard these ideas. Unfortunately, they don't teach you this stuff in a school. The Mantle Bank program spurred me to seek out other motivational resources. I began to read books by Napoleon Hill, O.G. Mandino, Norman Vincent Peale, and Robert Schuller. I started reading the Bible on a regular basis, and I urgently listened to inspiring audio programs by Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, and many others. I felt like a person who wandered for days in the desert with a parched throat and then suddenly found a stream of water. Now, I can't tell you that everything in my life changed overnight because it didn't happen that way. But for me, the moment I began to change from a negative attitude to positive attitude, I started to get significant results. I felt better. I had more energy and I started to achieve goals that I would never have accomplished before. All because of a change in my attitude. I'm also happy to report that when people now ask how old I am and I say 57, they invariably reply, you look much younger. It's all in the attitude. From lawyer to motivational speaker. I continued my self study program in my spare time while I worked full time as a lawyer. The positive thinking was helping my attitude at work, but I felt a passion for my hobby that I never felt for a job, and I dreamed about the day I could walk away from my job. In 1989, after 4 years of intensive research about attitude and motivational concept, I agreed to present some adult education seminars in the evening at a local high school. I was to be paid $30 for each 2-hour class. Not the kind of money that let you quit your day job. As I stood in front of the class to start my first seminar, I was petrified. My heart was pounding and I was sweating, but somehow I managed to muster the courage to just do it. The students loved the class and I got real adrenaline rush from presenting the material that had revolutionized my own life and that had the power to do the same for others. I was on my way. Eventually, the speaking fees grew a little larger, and in 1990, I decided to phase out my law career over the next few years. I had gone to 4 years of college and 3 years of law school to obtain my law degree. On top of that, I had spent 10 years of my life as a practicing lawyer. When you have that much invested in a career, it's not so easy to walk away. Then, of course, there was the money issue. As a lawyer, I was on a track to earn $1 lakh in a few years, and I had been earning that much and more for the rest of my professional career. Taking a stand. Although I was earning a little more income from my new hobby, I realized that I would have startup expenses in launching my new enterprise. Fortunately, Dolores and I had saved some money over the year. To supplement my income, I began to sell a line of merchandise with my unique attitude is everything logo. But there was no way to avoid it. I would have to take a huge financial step backward to start my new business, at least in the beginning, and yet it was time to move on. I felt as if I was being pulled out of the legal profession and into my new career Whenever I spoke to an audience or wrote a motivational essay, I was so invigorated and full of life. I knew that's where I belonged. So I made a gradual transition, working 4 days a week as a lawyer, then 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week until in 1992 I began working full time as a motivational speaker and writer. Trust me, my mother wasn't thrilled when I told her that I was giving up the practice of law to speak about attitude. After all, it doesn't carry the prestige of saying my son is a lawyer. But these are issues you have to deal with when you take a stand in life. You have to face the fact that some people will disapprove of your decision. I also learned that you often have to let go of something in your life and take a few steps backward before you can move forward in a new direction. Part of the price I had to pay was giving up the money, prestige, and security of my legal career. By the way, as it turned out, my mother became very supportive of my new career, especially when she saw that I was making progress. Why I'm telling you all this about my career transition? It's not to impress you with what I have done. Believe me, I have made plenty of blunders and mistakes along the way. I'm sharing my story because I want you to know how drastically my life changed and how much better it got when I made a change in my attitude. How you will benefit from this book. Some final thought before we launch right into this material. This book can help you no matter how positive or negative you are right now. If you are negative, don't disappear. You can use this concept to develop and maintain a positive attitude and to achieve incredible breakthrough in your life. If you are already a positive person, you can use this principle to soar to even greater heights of success and fulfillment. I have spent more than 20 years researching why it is that some people succeed while others achieve disappointing results. During that time, I have read a few hundred books and thousands of magazine articles on attitude and success. I have listened to more than 3,000 hours of audio programs. In addition, I have interviewed countless high achievers to learn their success secret. More importantly, I have personally applied each and every success strategy that is described in this book. So I know from first hand experience that these ideas work and that they have the power to literally transform your life. Please don't misunderstand me. I don't claim to be a know it all on this subject. Far from it, I consider myself a work in progress and I continue to learn every day. However, I know what it's like to have a negative attitude because that's the kind of attitude I had for the first 30 years of my life. I know what it's like to doubt yourself and your abilities because that's what I did for 30 years. All of the positive changes that I've made in my life are the result of practicing the principle you will read about it in this book. So, this was a short introduction to the powerful book Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller, a book that can truly change the way we think, act, and live. Each chapter ahead holds a life changing lesson, and I will be sharing them all one by one. If you are someone who believes in growing, learning, and becoming better every day, you are in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon because the next chapter is coming soon, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's walk this journey together. Have a great day.